Assalamu alaikum. This is Sir Khalid Salim, and I would be taking English class of class 6. Due to the coronavirus epidemic, educational activities all over Pakistan have been stopped, and the students are, in this regard, suffering a great deal of setback. So, the school has decided that we are going to offer online classes to our students, and we'd be having two lectures of English a week, and the new book for class 6 is New Oxford Modern English. It has been written by Nicholas Hosberg and Claire Hosberg, and we'll be studying two parts. First part would be of literature, that would be studying from this book, and the other would be grammar, which is having a totally separate book. So let's begin with our first chapter. Our first chapter is Nicobobinus. It's a novel by Terry Jones. Okay, so we are just going to read chapter number 1 and chapter number 2 of this lesson. Okay. Okay, the name of the chapter is Nicobobinus, and before we begin with the reading of the chapter, first I would like to go through this section that has been given in this book, Words to Know. These words are very beneficial because you'll be finding these words in your lesson, so it's better that we read them once along with their meanings. So that it would not be difficult for us while we are reading the chapter. Okay, number 1 is daft. Daft means silly. Okay, something that is silly. Number second word is jerkin. Jerkin means it's a sleeveless jacket, typically made of leather. Okay, so it's a jacket which has no sleeves. Okay, number third is roller, a heavy cylindrical stone used to flatten grass. So to flatten the grass, if the grass is standing, so you want to flatten the grass, so you use a roller. Roller is made up of a heavy cylindrical stone. Number fourth is shutters. Okay, it's the meaning of shutters is wooden window covers. Okay, number fifth is squirm, to wriggle or twist the body from side to side. Okay, number sixth is weed, to pull up white plants growing in unwanted places. So weed is basically those plants which are not beneficial to us, and they are not good for other plants. Okay, so these are like white plants, and they grow up and they basically take all the nutrition away from the plants that matter to us, so they are known as weeds. Okay, let's start with the chapter 1. This is the story of the most extraordinary child who ever stuck his tongue out at a prime minister. So they're telling us that this is a story of a child who is most extraordinary. He's not like ordinary kids, but he is extraordinary. He is different. Who has stuck out his tongue out at the prime minister? Who has stuck out his tongue at the prime minister? Okay, his name was Nicobobinus. The name of this child is Nicobobinus. He lived a long time ago. So this boy, he lived a very long time ago. बहुत पहले रहता था in a city called Venice. Okay, so he was living in a city that was known as Venice, and Venice, as you know, is in Italy. And he could do anything, और वो कुछ भी कर सकता था. Okay, so this is a boy that is being praised too much for his extraordinary abilities. Okay, of course, not everybody knew he could do anything, but not everybody. I mean, no one. He was not a famous boy. Uh, uh, Lots of people did not know that he could do anything. In fact, only his best friend Rosie knew, but his abilities, only his best friend Rosie was knowing about his extraordinary abilities, and nobody took any notice of anything, and nobody around them noted anything different or out of the ordinary. Rosie said because she was always having wild ideas anyway. Okay, so now Rosie was having wild ideas anyway, wild ideas, like she was having different ideas that would be very wild if I or you were to know about them. Okay, one day, for example, Rosie said to Nicobobinus, let's pull up every single weed on your doorstep. So this is another one of the wild ideas that Rosie is having, and she's asking Nicobobinus that, in front of your doorstep, let's pick out every single weed. Let's not say Nicobobinus, which is what Rosie thought he would say. So Nicobobinus was not interested in this activity, and he was saying, let's not pick up the weeds. In that case, replied Rosie, let's discover the land of dragons. So she's saying, if you are not interested in picking out the weeds, so it would be better that we go out and discover the land of dragons. So we come to know that this is an adventure story, and we'll be reading about the adventure of Nicobobinus later on in this chapter. Don't be daft, said Nicobobinus. How can how can we do that? So Nicobobinus saying that don't be silly. How can we do that? How can we go to how can we travel to the land of the dragons? Now Rosie is saying, because you can do anything, because he's an extraordinary boy, and he likes to have an adventure. So it would be one of those adventures where Nicobobinus would be interested in going to. So the next morning, just as it was getting light, so early in the morning, as soon as the sun was the sun was rising and it was coming out, Rosie threw little pebbles up at Nicobobinus' shutter. So Rosie, she picked up little pieces of stones. Pebbles are known as little pieces of stones, okay, and she was throwing up at Nicobobinus' shutter. Shutters are like wooden window covers, okay. Nicobobinus was still half asleep when he looked out. So he was asleep, and as soon as he woke up, he was looking a bit. He was looking half asleep, and this is when he looked out of the window. उसने बाहर window में देखा. What's the matter, Rosie? He asked. So he was asking that Rosie, what's the matter? Shh, whispered Rosie. I have got the buns and the lemonade. So she is informing Nicobobinus that I have got the food that we are going to take along with us on the adventure that we are going to have. I have got the buns and the lemonade. Okay, now Nicobobinus is saying, what for? Asked Nicobobinus. Supplies for the road, whispered Rosie. Now she is informing him that these are the things that we are going to carry with us when we would be going on the adventure. And where are we going? Asked Nicobobinus. We are going to find the land of dragons, whispered Rosie. Don't you remember? Now Rosie is making him remember that they had this chat before, and she gave him this idea that they should travel to the land of dragons. Now she's asking, don't you remember that we had this discussion beforehand? Oh, I thought you might have forgotten about that, said Nicobobinus. And he's saying, your idea was so wild and it was so adventurous, so I thought that you were not being serious about it and you might have forgotten about it. No fear, said Rosie. It's one of the best ideas I ever had. And she's saying, no fear, don't be afraid. Actually, this is the best idea that I have ever had. Okay, what about the weeding? Said Nicobobinus. Like he was asking her that you gave me this idea that I should remove all the weeds from my doorstep. So what about that idea? Aren't we going to carry on with the activity of removing weeds? Come on, said Rosie. Okay, now she's asking, come on, hurry up, get ready, and let's begin our adventure to the land of the dragon. So they set off through the early morning town. So early in the morning they started their adventure, and they were like passing through the town. When they got to the end of the narrow street where they lived, they met a night watchman. So as soon as they were traveling and they reached the end of the streets where they were living, so they met a night watchman. Okay, and he said, where are you two going at this hour? And he inquired from these two Rosie and Nicobobinus that early in the morning, where are you going? Okay, now they are informing. We are going to look for the land of dragons, said Nicobobinus. Now he replied that we are going to go and look for the land of dragons. You can't do that at this time of the morning, said the night watchman. But before he could grab them, Rosie and Nicobobinus were sprinting away as fast as they could. Now, the night watchman is saying, this is too early and you can't be going out from your homes and traveling, to this mysterious land of dragons. And he tried to grab them, he tried to stop them. But Rosie and Nicobobinus, they sprinted away as fast as they could. Sprinted means that they ran away as fast as they could. And they didn't stop running until they had crossed three bridges and tripped over a dog that was lying asleep under a garden wall. So they were running away from the night watchman, and they did not stop until they crossed three bridges. And finally, a dog was sleeping under a garden wall, and they accidentally tripped over that dog. Okay. Rosie's bottle of lemonade smashed against the wall, and the dog leapt to its feet. It means, in other words, jumped to its feet, barking as it had thought dog's doomsday had arrived. And as we know, Rosie was carrying buns and she was carrying lemonade, so that bottle of lemonade, it actually hit the wall, and it just broke. And the dog who was sleeping, he just jumped to its feet and he started barking as if it was the end of the world, because the dog was terrified. Doomsday means, it means that end of the world. Okay. For a moment they were sure it was going to bite them, so for a time being, Rosie and Nicodemus were expecting that this dog is going to bite them, because the dog was barking very ferociously. And then it noticed the two buns that had rolled into the gutter. But while he was shouting, the dog noticed that two buns, they have fallen from the backpack of Rosie, and they fell into the gutter. Okay. And it wolfed them down, barked thank you, but uh, the dog wolfed means, it means he ate the buns very in a very hungry manner. Okay, hungrily आप कह सकते हैं इनको, बहुत ज़्यादा भूखे तरीके से उसने buns खाए. Thank you, and ran off to tell its friends. And the dog barked, and it meant that thank you for the two buns, and the dog ran in search of his friends to inform them that he had gotten the free meal early in the morning. Okay. we are not going to get we are not going to get far without supplies, said Rosie gloomily. So Rosie, she admitted that we have lost all the food that we were carrying with us on our trip to the land of the dragons. And she was very hopeless, and she was very depressed, because she had lost all the supplies that they were carrying with them. I wonder if I could pick a few of those, said Nicobobinus, gazing up at an apple tree on the other side of the garden wall. So Nicobobinus, he looks at a tree that is on the other side of the wall, and he's saying, I can pick those apples so that we can use these apples as our supplies while we travel to the land of the dragons. Okay. Of course you can, said Rosie. Stand on my shoulder. So Rosie is helping this Nicobobinus, and she's saying, okay, you can pick the apples, and for picking the apples, you can stand on my shoulders. Okay. So Nicobobinus stood on Rosie's shoulder and climbed onto the wall. So Nicobobinus, he climbed on the shoulders of Rosie, and he tried climbing over the wall. Okay, but the tree was further away than he thought, and as he reached out, he lost his balance. So while he was standing on Rosie's shoulder, but he found that the tree was very far away, and as he was trying to reach out to grab the apple, he lost his balance. Okay, and fell with a crash down into the most magnificent garden he had ever been. So he lost his balance and he fell, and he was in the most magnificent. Magnificent means something that is very, you can say, very great, very majestic, very impressive garden that he had ever been. Okay, Nicobobinus looked back up at the high wall, but there was no way he could climb back. So, after falling on the other side of the wall, he was looking at that wall so that he could just climb back out from that wall or from that garden. But the wall was very high, so he could not climb back. What I am going to do, he yelled. Yell means to shout. Okay, now he shouted to Rosie, now what am I'm going to do? I mean, I'm stuck in this place and I can't get out. Now Rosie is saying, you will think of something, Rosie yelled back, crossing her fingers very hard. So she was like expecting Nicobobinus to think of a plan so that he could jump out of that garden, and she was confident, and she was thinking that Nicobobinus would think of something and he would come out from that garden. Oi, said a voice behind Nicobobinus. So, as he's in the garden, he hears a voice and it is asking him to stop, I guess. Nicobobinus didn't stop to look who it was, he ran. So, Nicobobinus, instead of looking that who called him, he ran. He just ran straight into a tree. So, he ran straight into a tree. So he ran into the tree and he could not run away any further. Got you, said the voice, and Nicobobinus felt five thick fingers on his neck. So that voice, it grabbed Nicobobinus by his neck. Oh, said Nicobobinus. So look here, got you and oh, it means interjection. Okay, these are like the these are the expressions that these are the expressions that express some sort of an emotion. So these are like interjections which we had studied in class 5. Okay, I have been waiting for you, said the voice, and Nicobobinus felt five more thick fingers round his wrist. So that voice is informing him that he has been waiting for this boy, and then that man had taken the hold of Nicobobinus wrist. But Nicobobinus, instead of trying to run away, doubled himself up and went backwards as fast as he could. So the man's legs were knocked from under him and he landed in a pile of leaves. So Nicobobinus just moved very quickly, and the man who was holding his wrist and who was grabbing him by the neck, he was knocked out. He basically fell down and he landed in a pile of leaves. So there was a pile of leaves that was in the garden, and the man, he fell in that pile of leaves. Are you all right, called Rosie, but she didn't hear any reply except for the man who growled. Okay, so now Rosie is asking that from Nicobobinus, that is he okay, because and she did not hear any reply. I mean, she did not get any answer from reply means answer from Nicobobinus except the man who growled. But the man who was lying in the pile of leaves, he growled. Growled means to speak in a very angry voice, you can say, the voice that shows that you are hurt. Okay, just you wait, both of you. Oh dear, said Rosie, sounds like trouble, and she was right. So that man, he said, just wait, I'm going to catch both of you. And Rosie realizes that this is the point from where the troubling events are going to begin. Okay, that was our chapter number 1. So a quick recap of chapter number 1 is that two characters have been introduced to us. First one is Rosie, and the second one is Nicobobinus. Okay, the first one is Nicobobinus, the second one is Rosie. And Nicobobinus has been portrayed as a boy by Rosie, who is very adventurous and who is like very daring, you can say. Okay, because she mentions that this is the boy who stuck out his tongue at the prime minister. So prime minister is basically a very important office in any country actually. So then she Rosie basically she gets wild ideas, and she comes up with this idea that they would travel to the land of a dragon. And then one early morning both of them uh, s- uh, set out towards this land of dragon, and they are carrying a piece of food. And while they are basically and when they reach the end of their street, they are stopped by the watchman, and that's the point from where they start running, and they keep running, and they basically trip over a dog, and while falling most of their supplies are lost. And then Nicobobinus sees some apples that are growing on a tree on the other side of the wall, and he tries to grab those apples, and he falls down. And this is where uh, the other man comes, and he tries to take hold of Nicobabinus, but somehow he outwits him and he runs away. And Rosie realizes that no, uh, they are both in trouble.